The European Union has united for the first time ever against the closest allies of the Trump. What is going on here? Is economic war brewing between the two allies? Is this the end of the U.S. Canada ties? In this video, we're going to break down the biggest news coming out of Europe that has the potential to destroy years of partnership between the U.S. and Canada. While the world was focused on the Russia-Ukraine conflict, the European Union made a secret plan to boycott the countries that they consider the closest allies of Vladimir Putin. Now this includes 2 NATO countries, which is not just a slap in the face, but could lead to the end of decades of partnerships between these countries. But why would the EU do such a thing? And how would this affect the global economy? Let's find out. Hello and welcome back, everyone. Before we start, make sure to follow our channel on social media where we share more content and updates. Let's start. The European Union has decided to unite for the first time ever with the sole purpose of boycotting 2 countries that are very close allies of the United States of America. This decision was made during the 27 EU foreign ministers meeting, where it was decided that starting next year they will stop importing Russian oil, gas, and coal. This means that the EU is officially joining the US in its economic battle against Russia. They will be imposing some of the harshest sanctions against Russia by cutting off their biggest sources of revenue. Now this move is set to cripple Russia's war efforts because the country relies heavily on the income from these products to fund its military operations. But the question here is, what about the other countries that have been exempted from these sanctions so far, including China and India? Well, it seems like the EU is also considering adding them to the list very soon. According to Josep Borrell, who is the EU's top diplomat, they are currently exempt because of their quote-unquote specific circumstances. He further said that the EU will keep all options on the table regarding the import ban on Russian oil and gas. And if needed, they will extend the ban to other countries as well. This means that the EU is preparing to take action against India and China as well. And things might get bad enough to where they will have to impose an import ban on Russian imports coming from these countries as well. Now, this is a big concern for both India and China because both countries have increased their imports of Russian energy since the war began. India's imports of Russian crude oil were up 55 times in April compared to last year. Similarly, China has also increased its imports of Russian crude oil, natural gas, and coal since the war began. If the EU does decide to impose an import ban on these countries, it will mean that they will have to pay hefty fines. And this could be the beginning of the end of the relationship between Russia and the EU. It could also mark the beginning of a new Cold War where the West will be isolated from the rest. Canada is one of the countries that has been exempted from these sanctions so far. However, there's a growing fear that this exemption might not last for long. According to reports, the EU is unhappy with Canada's decision to continue buying Russian uranium. This could be because of 2 reasons. First, the EU wants to cripple Russia's war efforts as soon as possible, and continuing to buy Russian uranium is helping them do that. Second, by continuing to buy Russian uranium, Canada is undermining the EU's own sanctions regime. And this is something that the EU is not happy about. As a result, there's a growing fear that the EU might remove Canada's exemption and impose sanctions on the country as well. And this could be the beginning of the end of the relationship between Canada and the EU. So the next time you hear someone say that the West is united, just remember that even the closest allies of the US are not immune from being sacrificed when it comes to furthering their own interests. What do you think about this? Let us know in the comment section below.